Bienenfeld Law with Saul Bienenfeld.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to take a deep dive into a topic that sits right at the intersection of criminal defense, civil rights, and accountability. And that topic is malicious prosecution. Most people have heard of the word wrongful convictions or false arrest, but malicious prosecution is different. It's about what happens when the machinery of the criminal justice system is weaponized. It's about when prosecutors or police push forward a case they know is baseless, or they act with malice instead of justice. So let's break down what malicious prosecution really means, why it matters, and how it plays out in real life. Legally speaking, malicious prosecution is a civil claim someone can bring after being wrongfully subjected to a criminal case, or sometimes even a civil case, that was brought without probable cause, pursued with malice, and ultimately ended in the defendant's favor. The elements typically include 1, the original case ended in the accused person's favor. 2, there was no probable cause for the case to be brought to begin with. 3, the prosecutor, or sometimes law enforcement, acted with malice. As a result, the person suffered damages, whether that's a loss of liberty, reputation, or money. It's not enough that someone was acquitted. Malicious prosecution is about intent. The idea that someone in power wasn't simply mistaken, but using the legal system as a weapon. Here's the problem. Malicious prosecution is one of the toughest cases to win. Prosecutors have broad immunity for their decisions. Courts often shield them to protect prosecutorial discretion. And even if those decisions are reckless or unfair, they're still protected. So most malicious prosecution suits targets police officers who swore out complaints or fabricated evidence. And even then, you got to show more than just error. You've got to prove actual malice or a reckless disregard for the truth. This makes sense in theory. We don't want every acquitted defendant turning around and suing. But in practice, it means real victims of abuse, people who spent years in jail awaiting trial, or whose reputations were destroyed, often walk away without any recourse. Let me give you a few examples where malicious prosecution has been alleged. You might remember the Duke lacrosse case. Prosecutors pursued sexual assault charges despite glaring inconsistencies in the evidence. And when the case fell apart, the players sued for malicious prosecution. Wrongful conviction exonerees. In cases where DNA clears someone after years behind bars, malicious prosecution claims sometimes accompany civil rights suits, but success varies because of immunity defenses. And everyday local cases. Think of the small town feud where someone leverages their relationship with the police to have a rival arrested, knowing the charges won't even stick. For the person arrested, the stigma, legal fees, and the trauma are real, even if they're acquitted. Behind all legal doctrine, there's the human cost. Imagine being arrested at work in front of colleagues, spending months fighting charges that should never have been brought, only to be acquitted, and then realizing you can't sue the prosecutor who put you through it. That's the frustration that fuels the concept of malicious prosecution. It's about dignity, reputation, and the right not to be dragged through the mud of the criminal justice system for someone else's agenda. So why am I talking about this? Because malicious prosecution cuts to the core of trust in the justice system. If prosecutors and police aren't held accountable when they abuse their power, the whole system loses legitimacy. It's also a reminder for lawyers and judges and the public, probable cause is not just a formality. Malice in prosecution destroys lives. And while the law puts up barriers to those lawsuits, the principle behind them is important. It's about making sure the justice system stays just. Malicious prosecution is a rare claim, hard to prove, powerful in what it represents. It's a check, however limited, on the immense power of the state. If you've ever wondered why wrongful prosecutions don't always end with justice for the accused, this is part of the answer. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to subscribe, share this episode, and send me your questions or stories about the justice system. I'd love to feature them in a future episode. Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and remember, justice isn't just about verdicts. It's about the process.